In the heart of rural America, a humble farmer stumbles upon an ancient underground vault hidden beneath his ordinary fields. What begins as a mysterious, accidental discovery soon unfolds into an epic adventure as forgotten relics, enigmatic symbols, and ancestral records reveal secrets capable of revolutionizing modern agriculture. Armed with a vintage metal detector and an astronomical key, our hero embarks on a quest for truth, facing off against a shadowy organization determined to seize this legacy for themselves. In his hands lies not just the ancient technology of forgotten agrarians, but a promise of renewing the land, fostering sustainable growth, and reclaiming freedom for small farmers. This riveting tale combines pulse-pounding suspense, age-old symbols, and a battle for the future, where the wisdom of the past converges with the innovations of the present. Carter McAllister had always believed that the heart of Nebraska hid secrets as vast and unpredictable as its endless prairies. In the early hours of an autumn morning, when the low-lying fog still embraced the golden fields and the chill whispered promises of the coming winter, Carter set out in his aging John Deere, intent on plowing a stretch of land that had, for generations, quietly yielded its bounty without complaint. Little did he know that today, the earth itself was preparing to reveal a mystery that would shatter his quiet existence and ignite a legend long buried beneath the soil. The day had begun like any other. Carter's weathered hands gripped the steering wheel with a calm resolve born of years working the land, his mind already wandering to thoughts of the harvest and the unspoken hopes of keeping his family's legacy alive. The plow churned through the rich, dark earth as if in a steady conversation with the land. But then, amid the familiar symphony of creaking metal and rustling stalks, an unfamiliar sound interrupted the routine, a soft, resonant metallic echo that seemed to pulse in tune with the heartbeat of the field. At first, Carter paused, the engine idling as he listened intently. That sound was not the clamor of farm machinery, it was something else entirely, something deliberate and ancient. A chill raced down his spine as he guided the plow to a halt. The morning light, still diffused by the haze, revealed a patch of soil that looked unervingly undisturbed, as if it were guarding a secret. Hesitant yet driven by a curiosity that outweighed his natural caution, Carter stepped out of the cab, his boots crunching softly on the gravel driveway as he walked toward the source of the sound. Every step seemed to echo in the quiet, the soft earth muffling his footsteps, as though urging him to tread lightly. When he reached the edge of the freshly plowed furrow, Carter's eyes fell upon something wholly unexpected, a narrow, elongated depression in the ground, its edges smoothed over by time and concealed beneath a layer of compacted soil. At its heart lay a metallic glimmer that caught the nascent light, a surface too uniform and deliberately fashioned to belong to the random debris of everyday farming. It was as if the earth had been tampered with, as if someone, or something, had carefully laid down a marker. With trembling fingers, Carter brushed away the dirt. The object was a flat, circular plate etched with enigmatic symbols that he couldn't immediately decipher. The symbols were not in any language he recognized, they swirled in patterns that hinted at astronomical alignments and ancient rites. A heavy silence settled over him. For a long moment, Carter stood there, grappling with the impossible realization that his quiet corner of Nebraska concealed a mystery far beyond the mundane challenges of crop yields and weather forecasts. Carter's mind raced as he recalled stories passed down by his grandfather, tales of hidden legacies and secret guardianship of the land. Though dismissed in the face of modern rationality, those stories had always possessed a kernel of truth, a magic that resonated with the rhythms of the natural world. Now, facing the relic before him, the old fables whispered in his mind with renewed urgency. Could it be that his family's homestead was built atop something of unimaginable value? Something that had remained undiscovered for generations? He decided then to leave the field and return to the farmhouse, a modest, time-worn structure that had seen both the prosperity and the hardships of countless seasons. Inside, amidst the familiar clutter of oil-stained tools and faded photographs, Carter retrieved a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed by time. This was the journal his father had once kept, a repository of personal reflections, sketches of the land, and cryptic notes about the family's past. With a mixture of trepidation and resolve, Carter pored over the entries, seeking any reference that might illuminate the meaning behind the mysterious plate. The journal spoke in riddles and half-remembered legends. One passage, in particular, struck a chord: when the plow tears the bosom of the earth, and the metal sings its ancient tune, seek the guardian of the hidden seed, a key to rebirth when the harvest of hope lies dormant. Carter's pulse quickened as he reread the lines. They seemed to echo the very moment he had experienced in the field. The phrase, hidden seed, stirred images of something vital, a secret repository of life and promise, preserved for a time when all seemed lost. With the journal clutched in one hand and a growing sense of destiny in his heart, Carter resolved to investigate further. He spent the remainder of the day preparing tools and carefully marking the spot on a worn map that had belonged to his ancestors. He couldn't shake the feeling that every element of his life, the rugged land, the echoing call of the metallic anomaly, even the cryptic entries in the journal, was converging toward this singular moment of revelation. Nightfall came with a chill that seemed to seep into Carter's bones. The vast Nebraska sky, adorned with countless stars, was both a comfort and a reminder of the cosmos' timeless watch over the land. As he sat on the creaking porch of his farmhouse, Carter's mind oscillated between wonder and worry. The discovery had the makings of a legend, yet it also threatened to unravel the delicate balance he had fought so hard to maintain. The secrets of the earth, it seemed, had chosen him as their guardian, and with that choice came a heavy burden of responsibility. In the deep silence of the night, as the wind rustled through the golden stalks and the first hints of an oncoming storm whispered through the prairie, Carter made a silent vow. No matter the risks, no matter the forces, be they natural or man-made, that might seek to exploit this mystery, he would protect it. For within the cold metal and the ancient symbols lay not just a relic of the past, but a promise for the future. A future in which the legacy of the land, and perhaps the very survival of a way of life, depended on the secrets now stirring beneath his feet. Thus began Carter's reluctant journey, a journey that would lead him deep into the hidden recesses of Nebraska's heart, where every shadow, every echo, and every forgotten legend wove together into a tapestry of hope, danger, and rebirth. The plow had torn open more than just soil that day, it had cleaved open a doorway to a forgotten legacy, one that would change everything. Dawn broke over the Nebraska plains like a promise etched in gold, yet Carter's mind remained shadowed by the night's revelations. The mysterious plate, with its swirling symbols and cryptic connection to his family's lore, had unsettled him more profoundly than he cared to admit. As the sun climbed slowly over the horizon, bathing the landscape in a warm, amber glow, Carter resolved that today would mark the true beginning of his quest to unlock the secrets buried beneath the soil. After a sparse breakfast of black coffee and toast in the creaking old farmhouse kitchen, Carter set about gathering the tools he would need for a thorough investigation. He retrieved a sturdy shovel, a set of chisels, and, most importantly, a metal detector his late grandfather had prized. That detector, its polished metal surfaces dulled by years of faithful service, had once unearthed lost coins and relics from times when the land had a pulse of its own. Today, it was his silent partner in a mystery that had now become deeply personal. Driving slowly back to the field, Carter's thoughts churned with half-remembered stories and disjointed legends of his youth. His father had often spoken of the hidden seed as a symbol of renewal, a guardian secret meant to be discovered only when the land itself cried out in despair. But Carter, a man of the modern age, had never given those tales much credence, until the metallic echo in the field jolted him into a realm where folklore met reality. Now, each furrow in the plowed field seemed to murmur with memories of forgotten times. Arriving at the spot where the strange plate had been uncovered, Carter paused to survey the land anew. The earth looked ordinary at first glance, a vast expanse of tilled soil ready for the season's sowing. Yet beneath that apparent simplicity lay an aura of mystery, as if centuries of secrets had seeped into every grain. He carefully spread out the aged journal on a makeshift table fashioned from a couple of wooden crates, the pages yellowed and fragile, yet pulsating with hidden truths. Carter's fingers traced the cryptic lines of the journal once more, lingering on the passage that spoke of the guardian of the hidden seed. His mind conjured visions of ancient rites and clandestine societies that had guarded nature's most precious treasures. With each word, the plain transformed in his eyes into a living mosaic of memory and myth. The very earth seemed to breathe history, a collective sigh of past generations whose voices echoed faintly in the rustle of the wind and the hum of the machinery long since silenced. Determined to unearth further clues, Carter activated the metal detector. The device emitted a series of beeps that grew louder and more insistent as he moved closer to a seemingly unremarkable mound near the edge of the field. Kneeling down, he brushed away the loose soil, revealing what appeared to be a rusted iron ring embedded in the earth. The ring bore intricate carvings reminiscent of the symbols on the circular plate, yet it was larger, more robust, a relic of an era when craftsmanship was as much an art as it was a science. Carter's heart pounded as he carefully extracted the ring. It felt unnaturally heavy, its metal cool and solid in his grip, as if preserving centuries of silent witness. Alongside the ring, he uncovered fragments of what seemed to be an iron lattice, half buried and partially corroded by time. These fragments, when pieced together in his mind's eye, hinted at a structure of considerable complexity, perhaps part of a long-forgotten vault or chamber designed to protect something of incalculable value. He returned to the farmhouse, where he locked the precious artifacts in a sturdy metal box for safekeeping. In the quiet solitude of his study, Carter began to map out the connections between the symbols on the plate, the ring, and the journal's cryptic references. The journal, interwoven with sketches and faded diagrams, seemed to suggest that the relics were part of a larger mechanism, a lock or gateway that would only reveal its secrets under precise conditions. Carter deduced that the solution lay not just in the physical objects but in the celestial choreography of the stars. His mind raced with possibilities. Could the alignment of the planets and constellations be the key to unlocking the hidden chamber? Over the following days, Carter immersed himself in research, poring over old texts and astronomical charts passed down through generations. He discovered that his ancestors had been not merely farmers but stewards of knowledge, keepers of a legacy that intermingled agricultural wisdom with ancient science. The journals of old mentioned a time when the harvest was as much a ritual as it was an act of cultivation. They spoke of secret observatories and star maps meticulously drawn to guide the timing of planting and reaping. In the margins of one particularly faded page, Carter found a crude sketch that resembled the layout of the mysterious plate and the iron ring. The symbols, he realized, were not arbitrary, they encoded directions and instructions, a celestial algorithm meant to synchronize with the passage of time and the turning of seasons. Night after night, Carter found himself standing outside under the vast Nebraska sky, his eyes fixed on the heavens. The stars, glistening like diamonds on a velvet canvas, seemed to whisper secrets from eons past. He measured their positions, cross-referencing the ancient diagrams with modern astronomical data. It was during one of these quiet vigils that a sudden realization struck him. The alignment mentioned in the journal corresponded with a rare celestial event, a convergence of several bright stars that was due to occur in just a few nights. The timing could not be mere coincidence, it was as though the cosmos had conspired to bring him to this very moment, to urge him onward in his quest. Yet, the more Carter uncovered, the more he sensed that he was not the only one drawn into the gravitational pull of this enigma. Subtle signs of intrusion began to emerge. Strange vehicles were seen at the edge of his property, and unfamiliar faces appeared in the nearby town, their interest in the local legends unusually acute. Carter's instincts warned him that powerful forces, perhaps driven by greed or a desire for control, might soon converge on his quiet homestead. The possibility of external interference, corporate interests, government agencies, or shadowy figures with their own secret agendas, added a layer of peril to his endeavor. One crisp evening, as Carter meticulously recorded his findings in the journal, a soft knock echoed at the farmhouse door. Cautiously, he opened it to find an older man clad in a faded overcoat, his eyes filled with a blend of wisdom and wariness. The stranger introduced himself as Nathaniel Reed, a local historian with a deep knowledge of the region's folklore and a personal interest in the arcane. Nathaniel's presence confirmed Carter's growing suspicion. The mystery was not confined to isolated family legends but was interwoven with the broader tapestry of the community's history. Nathaniel spoke in measured tones, recounting stories of a clandestine order that had once thrived in these parts, a group that had safeguarded agricultural secrets and ancient technologies long before the advent of modern science. He revealed that the order's members were scattered over the decades, their knowledge passed down in secret, hidden in plain sight. According to Nathaniel, the relics Carter had uncovered were keys to a vault that held not only agricultural wisdom but also technology that could revolutionize farming practices, a technology designed to be resilient against the ravages of time, pests, and corporate monopolies. The historian's words resonated with Carter, filling him with both hope and dread. The notion that his family's legacy might be tied to a grander, almost mythic enterprise was both exhilarating and terrifying. As they pored over old maps and documents by the flickering light of an oil lamp, Nathaniel pointed out symbols and constellations that aligned perfectly with Carter's own discoveries. Together, they pieced together a puzzle that spanned centuries, a narrative of resilience, rebellion, and the eternal dance between man and nature. Yet, as the night deepened, an undercurrent of urgency permeated their conversation. Nathaniel warned that forces beyond their control were mobilizing, intent on seizing the secret for their own gain. Rumors of a conglomerate, operating in the shadows, known only as the Consortium, had reached even the most remote corners of the state. This entity, with its vast resources and insatiable appetite for control over natural resources, had been known to deploy agents to silence dissent and suppress knowledge that threatened their monopolistic grip on agriculture. The idea that such a powerful force was now circling near Carter's land steeled his resolve. He could no longer delay, the time to act was imminent. With the celestial convergence fast approaching, Carter and Nathaniel made plans to secure the area around the field and continue their investigation under cover of darkness. They agreed to use a network of hidden safe houses and secret meeting points, a web woven by those who had long guarded the agricultural mysteries of the region. In the days that followed, Carter's farmhouse transformed into a hub of clandestine activity. Maps, astronomical charts, and old manuscripts covered every available surface, while a small but dedicated group of local farmers and historians joined the effort. Together, they formed an alliance bound by a common purpose, to protect the legacy of the land and to ensure that its secrets remained in the hands of those who truly cherished its power. Carter, once a solitary figure battling the hardships of modern farming, now found himself at the center of a burgeoning resistance, a movement that harked back to the days of ancient rites and the eternal promise of renewal. As the anticipated night of the celestial event drew near, tensions mounted. Every shadow, every unexpected sound, seemed laden with potential threat. Carter's nights became a delicate balancing act between fervent scientific inquiry and the practical need for vigilance. He could not shake the feeling that somewhere in the vast darkness, unseen eyes were watching, waiting for a misstep. Then, on the eve of the convergence, Carter stood alone in the field, his heart pounding in synchrony with the distant hum of the wind. The heavens above shimmered with a brilliance that promised to reveal the hidden order of the universe. He clutched the old journal and the iron ring, now symbols not only of his family's past but also of a destiny that transcended his own lifetime. In that moment, Carter felt a profound connection to the countless generations that had tilled the soil before him, each one a guardian of secrets, each one a silent participant in the grand narrative of life. In the interplay of starlight and shadow, Carter resolved to follow the path laid out by destiny. With Nathaniel's guidance and the support of his newfound allies, he would delve deeper into the mystery, unearthing truths that had been hidden for centuries. The echoes of the past were calling, and with each beat of his heart, Carter prepared to answer that call, ready to embrace a legacy that was as boundless and enduring as the Nebraska skies. As the anticipated celestial convergence drew nearer, Carter's heart pounded with both trepidation and exhilaration. The once quiet Nebraska nights now bore a mysterious intensity, each star a silent witness to the unfolding saga. Under the shroud of darkness, the alliance of local historians and dedicated farmers gathered at a secluded, abandoned barn on the edge of Carter's property. This barn, long unused and cloaked in ivy and faded memories, had been transformed into a makeshift command center, a sanctuary for those who had come to understand that their legacy was intertwined with something far greater than their individual lives. Inside the barn, the air was thick with anticipation. Maps, annotated with symbols and cryptic constellations, adorned the walls alongside aged manuscripts and weathered photographs. In one corner, an ancient brass telescope stood, a relic that had once been the pride of a local observatory. Its lens, though smudged by time, still captured the cosmos with a precision that inspired both awe and resolve. Carter, with his weathered journal and the mysterious iron ring securely in his possession, addressed the gathered group, his voice steady despite the undercurrent of urgency. "Tonight," he began, "we stand at the crossroads of destiny. Our ancestors left us a puzzle, a key to a legacy that has the power to transform not only our land but the very future of agriculture. We must remain vigilant, for there are those who would see this knowledge locked away for their own gain. But as the heavens align, so too must we align our efforts, for the truth is ours to uncover." The murmurs of agreement that followed were underscored by a palpable tension. Everyone knew that the moment of convergence was near. It was as if the cosmos itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what might be revealed. Outside, the darkness deepened, and the crisp night air carried whispers of wind that seemed to murmur secrets of ancient times. Nathaniel Reed, the local historian whose insights had already proven invaluable, unfurled a tattered map on a wooden table scarred by years of use. The map was a labyrinth of symbols, some echoing those on the mysterious plate and the iron ring. Others completely unfamiliar. This, he explained, is a record of the old Guardian network, a system of hidden vaults and channels that were once maintained by our forefathers. It's believed that these vaults were not mere storage spaces, but sanctuaries designed to protect vital agricultural innovations and seeds capable of sustaining life in times of crisis. As he spoke, Carter's gaze shifted to a faded ink sketch pinned to the wall, a drawing of an elaborate underground mechanism, complete with interlocking gears and celestial markers. The diagram seemed to capture a process, an ancient ritual where the alignment of the stars activated a series of locks deep beneath the earth. The group deduced that the mysterious plate was a crucial part of this mechanism, a sort of astral key meant to harmonize with the heavens and open a concealed vault. While Nathaniel and the others debated the exact nature of the mechanism, Carter's thoughts drifted back to the journal. His ancestors had spoken in riddles about the hidden seed and the Guardian's promise, hinting at a power that could ensure not only the survival of crops but the resilience of entire communities. This was not just an agricultural breakthrough, it was a legacy, a blueprint for renewal designed to counteract the creeping threat of corporate monopolies and the relentless forces that sought to control nature itself. The group resolved to split into teams for the night's investigation. Carter, Nathaniel, and a small cadre of trusted allies would return to the field where the iron ring had been discovered. Their objective was to follow a series of clues that Nathaniel believed would lead them to the entrance of the hidden vault. The rest of the group was tasked with securing the barn and keeping a vigilant watch for any sign of intrusion, especially given the recent sightings of unfamiliar vehicles near the property. Under a sky pulsing with constellations and shimmering in anticipation of the rare convergence, Carter and his companions set out. The night was remarkably clear, each star seeming to burn with a purpose. They navigated through the familiar, yet now ominous, landscape of tilled fields and gently rolling hills. The silence was almost sacred, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of wind and the distant hum of nocturnal creatures. Arriving at the original site of the metal plate, Carter felt a shiver of recognition. Here, the earth itself seemed charged with the weight of history. He retrieved the iron ring from its secure pouch and studied its intricate carvings once more. The patterns appeared to correspond with certain constellations overhead, a celestial mirror that hinted at a deeper meaning. Carter carefully placed the ring near the plate, as if offering it as a key to a long-forgotten lock. The ring's cool surface glinted faintly in the starlight, and for a brief, tense moment, time seemed to suspend itself. Nathaniel knelt beside Carter, examining the etched symbols with a scholar's intensity. "There's a sequence here," he murmured, tracing a pattern that aligned with the positions of Orion's belt and the Pleiades. "Our ancestors designed this not as a random set of symbols, but as a map, one that guides us to a vault, hidden beneath the very earth we tread upon. When the stars reach their apex tonight, the mechanism should activate." As the group prepared for the moment of convergence, a low hum began to emanate from the ground, a sound so subtle it could have been mistaken for the wind. Yet, as minutes turned into a few heartbeats, the hum grew louder, resonating deep within the soil. Carter's pulse quickened. The air vibrated with an otherworldly energy as if the land was awakening from a long slumber. Suddenly, the earth beneath the plate quivered. Dust and tiny fragments of soil began to drift in a slow, mesmerizing dance around the base of the mysterious relic. The symbols on the plate seemed to glow faintly, bathed in a soft luminescence that echoed the brilliance of the starlit sky above. In that fleeting moment, Carter felt as if he was witnessing an event that transcended the ordinary, a ritual that bridged time and space, connecting the legacy of his forefathers with the destiny of the present. With an almost imperceptible creak, a hidden mechanism was set into motion. A narrow fissure emerged from the earth, its edges illuminated by the residual glow of the plate. The group exchanged wide-eyed glances, their earlier debates silenced by the undeniable reality unfolding before them. The fissure gradually widened into a descending passage, a secret door carved into the bedrock of the land, as if the very earth had willingly unveiled its guarded secret. Carter stepped forward, his mind awash with both awe and resolve. The passage beckoned like a chasm of forgotten promise, a portal into the subterranean world where the hidden seed was said to lie. With a deep breath, he led the group into the narrow corridor. The cool, damp air enveloped them as they advanced, their flashlights cutting through the darkness in long, wavering beams. Every step echoed against ancient stone, resonating with the memories of those who had walked this path long before them. The passage spiraled downward, its walls adorned with carvings that told tales of celestial events, harvest festivals, and ancient rites. It was as if the corridor itself was a living chronicle, its every contour a testament to a bygone era of wisdom and guardianship. The group moved in a silent procession, each member acutely aware of the gravity of their quest. They were not merely uncovering a secret vault, they were reawakening a legacy that had been entrusted to a select few, a legacy meant to ensure that life would always find a way to flourish. As they reached a chamber deep beneath the surface, the corridor opened into a vast subterranean room. The ceiling soared high above, lost in shadow and mystery, while the floor was a mosaic of ancient stone and carefully arranged tiles that glimmered with a subtle, almost hypnotic pattern. In the center of the chamber stood an imposing stone pedestal, its surface etched with a complex array of symbols that pulsed in time with the residual energy of the celestial convergence. Carter approached the pedestal with reverence, his hand trembling as he reached out to brush his fingers over the intricate carvings. In that touch, he felt the weight of centuries, of generations who had labored in silence to safeguard knowledge that was as vital as the seed sown in spring. The room exuded a sense of sacred purpose, as though it had been constructed not merely to conceal, but to consecrate the hidden legacy it protected. A sudden, almost imperceptible shift in the chamber's energy caught everyone's attention. The pedestal began to emit a soft, rhythmic hum, harmonizing with the distant murmur of the night above. In response, a concealed panel slid open with deliberate precision, revealing a hidden compartment within the pedestal itself. Inside lay a small, intricately designed box crafted from dark, weathered metal and inlaid with tiny, shimmering gems that resembled stars. This was no ordinary container, it was an artifact of profound significance, a repository for the long-awaited, hidden seed and the wisdom that had been so vigilantly preserved. Nathaniel leaned in, his eyes wide with wonder as he examined the box. "This," he whispered, "is the culmination of our ancestors' vision, a gift entrusted to us in a time of need. It holds the blueprint for sustainable agriculture, a synthesis of ancient methods and modern resilience, meant to revive the land when it is most threatened." The murmurs of agreement and awe rippled through the group, each person feeling the profound responsibility that now rested upon their shoulders. In that charged moment, Carter knew that their journey was only just beginning. The box was a symbol, a tangible link between the storied past and a future ripe with possibility. Yet, as he stood there in the dim light of the subterranean chamber, a silent voice echoed in his mind, a warning that such power was coveted by dark forces determined to seize it for their own. Outside, the distant rumble of engines and the murmur of approaching footsteps hinted that the forces of the consortium might already be mobilizing to reclaim what they deemed theirs. With the box secured carefully in his pack, Carter and his companions retraced their steps through the winding passage. Every shadow and whisper in the subterranean corridors now carried a dual promise, the promise of renewal and the threat of impending peril. As they ascended back toward the surface, the cool night air greeted them with an almost tangible sense of urgency. The celestial convergence had passed, and with it, the protective veil over the secret vault had begun to wane. Emerging back into the starlit night, the group was met by a foreboding silence that blanketed the land, a silence that spoke of imminent danger. Carter's eyes scanned the horizon, alert for any sign of movement. The journey into the hidden vault had unveiled not just an ancient legacy, but a mission that would test their resolve and their ability to stand against forces that sought to control the future of agriculture. As they dispersed to secure their positions and plan their next move, Carter held the mysterious box close, its weight both a burden and a beacon of hope. Deep within, the secrets of sustainable growth and the promise of a renewed harvest lay waiting, a promise that, if unlocked, could change the world. Yet, in the quiet rustling of the wind and the distant echoes of approaching engines, Carter sensed that their adversaries were closing in. The descent into the underground chamber had been only the first step in a journey fraught with peril, mystery, and the ever-present whisper of destiny. The cool night air seemed to throb with unease as Carter and his group dispersed to fortify their positions. The revelation of the ancient box had left them both emboldened and vulnerable. With the weight of secrets and the whisper of impending danger looming over every step, Carter knew that the night was far from over. Indeed, new, darker chapter of the struggle was only just beginning. After safely returning the box to the farmhouse's hidden basement, an improvised archive carved out beneath a reinforced room, Carter retreated to a corner of the old barn where he could regroup with Nathaniel and the core members of the Alliance. Maps and sketches littered the rough wooden table, illuminated by a single, flickering lantern. Outside, the distant rumble of engines and the faint hum of voices betrayed the approach of an unseen enemy. It wasn't just the threat of the consortium that kept Carter awake now, it was the realization that this mystery was interwoven with a vast network of conspiracies, spanning decades, perhaps centuries. Nathaniel's eyes, deep with both concern and conviction, met Carter's. "We've awakened something that was meant to remain hidden," he said in a hushed tone. "Our ancestors knew that the knowledge contained in that box could revolutionize agriculture, empower small farmers, and thwart the corporate titans who have monopolized the food supply. But they also knew that such power would attract dangerous interest. Now, we must protect this legacy at all costs." As the night deepened, the farmhouse became a hive of urgent activity. Carter coordinated with trusted allies over secure channels, using coded messages that had been passed down in family lore. Every creak of the old structure, every murmur in the darkened hallways, seemed to be a reminder that they were being watched. The group meticulously reviewed the documents and ancient diagrams salvaged from the underground vault, trying to decipher every nuance of the symbols and instructions. These texts hinted at a grand design, a celestial calendar and mechanical locks that would only open at precise moments, dictated by the alignment of stars and seasons. Outside, the threat grew ever more palpable. Shadows moved near the periphery of the property, and Carter's instincts told him that the consortium's agents were closing in. In a hushed discussion by the lantern's glow, one of the farmers, a rugged man named Elias, warned, "I saw black SUVs circling near the perimeter earlier today. They're not locals, they're professionals. We have to assume they're here for the box." The tension in the room was almost unbearable, punctuated by the soft scratching of pen on paper as Carter feverishly revised his plans. Determined not to let fear paralyze them, Carter and Nathaniel resolved to decode the box's inscriptions fully. The metal container, intricately embossed with symbols that echoed both celestial formations and agricultural motifs, held a secret that was as vital as it was fragile. Carter recalled a passage from the journal that had haunted him since the discovery: "In the union of earth and sky lies the key to eternal harvest, let not the hand of greed obscure the seed of life." The words resonated now with a force that belied their simplicity, calling him to act with both caution and boldness. In a quiet corner of the basement, Carter carefully unlatched the box. The mechanism was delicate, an interplay of ancient craftsmanship and cryptic engineering that seemed to defy modern understanding. With trembling hands, he lifted the lid, revealing a series of carefully folded parchments and a small, intricately carved wooden key. The parchments were yellowed with age and inscribed with a script that blended archaic Latin with symbols that resembled astrological notations. The key, smooth and cool to the touch, was inlaid with a pattern of tiny geometric shapes that echoed the design of the celestial vaults described in the texts. As Carter spread out the contents on the dusty worktable, a quiet determination settled over him. He could almost feel the pulse of history emanating from the fragile pages, a call to arms from generations who had guarded these secrets against the tide of modern exploitation. He and Nathaniel began translating the ancient script, piecing together the instructions left by his forefathers. The text described a secondary vault, a larger repository hidden beneath a long-forgotten field on the outskirts of town. This vault was said to house not only advanced agricultural techniques and disease-resistant seed varieties but also blueprints for sustainable technologies that could transform the way the world fed itself. Yet, even as the group pored over these revelations, the sound of approaching vehicles grew louder. The distant thump of tires on gravel and the low murmur of engines signaled that time was running short. Carter's gaze hardened as he realized that the window for a discreet escape was narrowing. "We have two choices," he declared, voice steady despite the storm of anxiety brewing inside him. "We either fortify this place and risk being overwhelmed, or we split up and move the documents and seeds to a secure location. We must assume that our adversaries know what we've done already." Nathaniel nodded gravely, his eyes reflecting the weight of responsibility. "We'll need to divide into teams. Some of us will set up a defensive perimeter here, while others will transport the vital information and relics to a location only known to the earliest guardians. Carter, you will lead the mission to relocate the documents. Elias and I will coordinate the defenses. The plan was set quickly, each person acutely aware that the balance between preservation and catastrophe was razor-thin. As the Alliance mobilized, Carter loaded a battered pickup truck with carefully packed boxes, the ancient parchments, and the wooden key. The drive to the designated safe house, a secluded farmhouse several miles away, once used as a clandestine meeting point for local revolutionaries, was fraught with tension. The road was dark and winding, flanked by fields that now seemed to teem with unseen threats. Every rustle of wind and every flicker of headlights in the distance sent a jolt of adrenaline through Carter's veins. He drove cautiously but purposefully, the ancient key clutched in his hand like a talisman of hope and defiance. Back at the farmhouse, the defenses were being set up with military precision. Men and women, once simple farmers and local historians, now took up positions as sentinels. They fortified the windows and barricaded the doors with whatever materials they had at hand. Every creak of the old structure seemed magnified, every shadow a potential ambush. In the midst of this flurry of activity, Carter's mind raced with conflicting thoughts. He felt the ancient burden of his lineage pressing upon him, a duty to safeguard a legacy that had been nurtured by the sweat and toil of generations. Yet he was also painfully aware of the modern forces arrayed against him. Corporate greed, governmental overreach, and the relentless drive of those who would exploit nature for profit. In the relative isolation of the pickup's cab, Carter allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. The ancient key, with its mysterious carvings and symbolic significance, was more than just an artifact, it was a link to a time when the bond between humanity and the earth was sacred. He thought of the generations before him, who had whispered secrets to the soil and listened to the silent counsel of the stars. Their wisdom was now his to protect and to pass on, a duty that transcended personal ambition and fear. The safe house loomed ahead, a modest, secluded farmhouse surrounded by acres of untamed land. As Carter pulled up, he couldn't help but feel a sense of relief mixed with lingering apprehension. The property had been chosen long ago for its isolation and natural defenses, its thick groves of trees and rugged terrain serving as nature's own fortress. Here, in the stillness of the night, Carter carefully unloaded the precious documents and relics, each item a vital piece of a puzzle that promised to change the future of agriculture. Inside the safe house, he met with a small group of trusted allies who had been waiting in silence. In the flickering candlelight of a sparsely furnished room, Carter spread the parchments on an old oak table. Together, they began the painstaking process of transcribing and safeguarding the ancient texts, ensuring that every detail was captured and secured. The sound of distant sirens and the intermittent flash of headlights in the distance served as a constant reminder that their enemies were not far behind. As the night wore on, the safe house became a sanctuary of scholarly activity and cautious vigilance. The group worked feverishly to cross-reference the ancient instructions with modern data, decoding complex diagrams that blended celestial phenomena with agricultural practices. Every discovery was a victory, a small light in the encroaching darkness. But with each revelation, the threat of exposure and betrayal grew heavier. The ancient legacy they now guarded was a beacon of hope, but it was also a magnet for those who would stop at nothing to control it. Outside, the chaos of the night continued. In the distance, the sounds of pursuit, boots pounding on pavement, muffled shouts, and the incessant whir of engines, formed an ominous counterpoint to the quiet determination within the safe house. Carter, now more resolved than ever, knew that this was merely the beginning of a battle that spanned both time and space. The ancient guardians had entrusted their secrets to him, and he would not allow them to fall into the hands of the oppressors. In a hushed tone, Carter addressed the gathered group, his eyes reflecting both the weariness of the long night and the unyielding spark of hope. "We stand at the threshold of a new era," he said, voice steady despite the storm outside. "The knowledge we have uncovered isn't just a relic of the past, it is a blueprint for a future where humanity lives in harmony with the earth. But we must remain vigilant. Our adversaries are relentless, and every step we take toward enlightenment is a step deeper into danger. We must safeguard this legacy, not only for ourselves but for every farmer and every community that dreams of a world free from the chains of corporate greed." The safe house became a beacon of clandestine activity in the midst of a dark and uncertain night. As dawn began to creep over the horizon, the group prepared for what lay ahead. They knew that the journey to unlock the full potential of the ancient wisdom was far from over. With the secrets of the hidden vault, the the celestial keys, and the coded instructions now in their possession, they were ready to challenge the modern forces of oppression. Carter, holding the wooden key and gazing at the ancient parchments, felt the weight of destiny settle firmly on his shoulders. The promise of to unravel harvest, every secret, a future where knowledge was shared, the legacy of the earth would endure for generations to come. And as the first light of dawn illuminated the safe house that belied the storm of activity in shadows of conspiracy, dawn had barely broken when Carter awoke to a subtle vibration, a soft, rhythmic pulsing that seemed to emanate from deep within the earth. The sensation stirred memories of the vault beneath his land, the night of the celestial convergence, and the enigmatic inscriptions that had begun to reveal the promise of a long-hidden legacy. Today, he knew, would be the day when the next piece of the puzzle, the celestial cipher, would begin to take shape. Inside the safe house, Carter found his trusted allies already gathered around a large, scarred wooden table that bore the marks of many clandestine meetings. Stacks of yellowed parchments, detailed sketches, and astronomical charts were spread out in chaotic yet deliberate order. Nathaniel, ever the vigilant scholar, had taken charge of the deciphering process. His sharp eyes moved over the ancient script, which wove together fragments of Latin, archaic symbols, and numerical sequences that hinted at complex mathematical relationships with the stars. Carter approached the table slowly, his mind still echoing with the memory of that first vault and the resonant hum of the mechanism. He carefully laid the wooden key next to a particularly cryptic parchment. This document, larger than the others and written in a script that shimmered faintly as if touched by moonlight, contained what many in the group were now calling the celestial cipher. Its contents suggested that the secrets of the vault were not merely mechanical but were linked directly to the heavens, each symbol and numeral representing a coordinate in the cosmic order. Nathaniel looked up as Carter took his place among the others. "We believe that this cipher maps the passage of time onto the physical structure of the vault," he explained, his voice both excited and cautious. "Our ancestors understood that the alignment of the stars and the cycles of nature were inseparable. They encoded this knowledge so that only at a precise moment, a moment when the heavens and the earth aligned perfectly, would the full power of their creation be unlocked." His fingers traced a series of symbols that corresponded to constellations and planetary positions, a series of calculations that seemed as much ritual as they were a scientific formula. The group fell into a contemplative silence as they pored over the parchment. Outside, the soft glow of early morning light filtered through the sparse trees that surrounded the safe house. It was a moment of fragile peace, a brief respite before the coming storm of conflict with those who would stop at nothing to seize this ancient wisdom. Carter's mind raced with the implications of their discovery. If they could fully decode the cipher, they might not only unlock the secrets of the underground vault but also harness the power to usher in a new era of sustainable agriculture, a revolution that could free small farmers from the iron grip of corporate monopolies. As the hours passed, the safe house transformed into a nexus of intellectual fervor. Nathaniel, Carter, and several other members of the group began a painstaking process of aligning the cipher's numerical sequences with modern astronomical data. They cross-referenced the ancient celestial maps with computerized simulations, each new correlation fueling their hope that the key to the vault was, indeed, encoded in the positions of the stars. The process was arduous and required a delicate balance between intuition and scientific rigor. Every now and then, Carter would catch himself gazing out of a narrow window, his thoughts drifting to the fields back home, where the soil now hid secrets that could change the world. In one breakthrough moment, a pattern began to emerge. Carter and his colleagues realized that the cipher was not linear but cyclical, a celestial algorithm that repeated with the seasons and the movements of the planets. The parchment depicted a diagram that was reminiscent of an astrolabe, a tool used centuries ago to measure the positions of the stars. However, this diagram was far more complex, incorporating interlocking rings and angular markers that suggested a multi-layered mechanism. Nathaniel's voice broke the silence as he speculated, perhaps this is the master key, a formula that, when input correctly into the vault's central mechanism, will open the hidden chamber once and for all. But as hope began to swell in the room, so too did the weight of impending danger. A sharp knock at the heavy front door shattered the fragile tranquility of the safe house. Carter's heart skipped a beat as he exchanged glances with Nathaniel. It was too early for visitors, and the knock carried with it an unmistakable note of urgency. Carter rose swiftly, motioning for one of the sentinels to approach the door with caution. Every muscle tensed as the door creaked open just enough to reveal a pair of watchful eyes and a hurried whisper, "They found us." In an instant, the safe house transformed from a haven of scholarly pursuit into a battlefield of covert strategies. The group scrambled to secure the documents and the relics. Carter clutched the wooden key tightly, knowing that it was now more than an artifact, it was the linchpin that connected their past to the future they so desperately sought to protect. Outside, voices could be heard, muffled yet determined, and the unmistakable hum of engines signaled that the consortium's agents were on their way. With practiced efficiency born of months of clandestine operations, the group initiated their escape protocols. Carter and a few of the most trusted allies were tasked with taking the precious parchments and key to a secondary secure location, a hidden archive known only to a few descendants of the ancient guardians. Nathaniel, on the other hand, was to hold the fort and continue deciphering the remaining elements of the celestial cipher from within the safe house. It was a decision that split the group, but one that was necessary under the circumstances. As Carter and his team hurriedly loaded the documents into a rugged, nondescript van, every second felt like an eternity. The night had barely given way today, yet the threat was already upon them. The van's engine roared to life, and with heavy hearts, they sped away from the safe house, the precious legacy clutched in their hands and minds. Behind them, the safe house was engulfed in a flurry of activity, alarms, hurried footsteps, and the distant shouts of intruders merging with the rustle of paper and the soft hum of ancient secrets being safeguarded. The journey to the secondary archive was fraught with tension. Carter navigated winding backroads, every curve and shadow a potential trap set by those determined to reclaim the knowledge they sought to control. The countryside, normally serene and timeless, had become a labyrinth of danger and uncertainty. Every so often, Carter would catch a glimpse of black SUVs in his rearview mirror, their presence a stark reminder of the relentless pursuit that threatened to derail their mission. In the relative isolation of a forgotten rural crossroads, Carter's convoy finally reached the secondary archive, a modest structure hidden in a dense copse of trees, far removed from prying eyes. Inside, the air was thick with the musk of old paper and the quiet hum of secret histories. Here, amid shelves of time-worn tomes and relics of agricultural lore, Carter and his team found a temporary sanctuary. They carefully laid out the documents, the wooden key, and the deciphered fragments of the celestial cipher, each piece of the puzzle resonating with a profound sense of destiny. As Carter reviewed the scattered parchments, his mind could not help but return to the words inscribed in the ancient texts, "In the union of earth and sky, the seed of life is reborn." It was a promise, a directive that called upon them to unlock a power that transcended mere survival. It was a call to transform the very foundations of agricultural society. The celestial cipher, now partially understood, hinted at a moment when nature and technology would merge in perfect harmony, a moment that could only be achieved when the stars aligned in their eternal dance. Outside the archive, the sound of engines and distant shouts served as a constant reminder that their adversaries were closing in. Yet, within these hidden walls, Carter felt a flicker of hope. The deciphering of the celestial cipher was not merely an academic exercise, it was the key to liberating small farmers from the oppressive grasp of those who exploited the land for profit. With every line of code unraveled, with every celestial alignment decoded, the possibility of a new dawn, a dawn where the earth's bounty was shared freely and sustainably, grew ever more tangible. In that moment of reflective solitude, Carter resolved that the next step was clear: to harness the full potential of the cipher and prepare for the final confrontation with the forces that sought to control this ancient legacy. He would need to return to the primary vault, to the very heart of the land where the celestial convergence had once awakened the hidden mechanisms. There, armed with the knowledge gleaned from the cipher and the support of a resolute band of allies, he would unlock the ultimate secret, a secret that had been safeguarded for generations, waiting for the precise moment when destiny demanded its revelation. As dusk approached once again, Carter's thoughts turned to the coming night. The celestial alignments promised another convergence, another chance to activate the ancient mechanism and reveal the full scope of the hidden vault. With the wooden key, the deciphered fragments, and an unwavering determination, Carter and his allies prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet, a mission that would determine not only the fate of their own lives but the future of an entire way of life. In the quiet resolve of that hidden archive, amid the rustle of ancient parchment and the solemn ticking of a battered clock, Carter vowed to continue the fight. The celestial cipher was more than a map, it was a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of knowledge and nature. And as the stars began to emerge in the twilight sky, he knew that the true battle was only just beginning. Dusk's deepening twilight blanketed the countryside as Carter and his steadfast band of allies prepared for the decisive moment. The deciphered celestial cipher and the ancient wooden key pulsed with a quiet promise of revelation, a promise that had now come to define the course of their struggle. After days spent safeguarding the relics and decoding the age-old instructions, every member of the clandestine network understood that tonight, under a tapestry of shimmering stars, the final confrontation would unfold. Carter's mind raced with memories of the hidden vault beneath his land, a vault that had first awakened during the last celestial convergence. He recalled the rhythmic hum of the ancient mechanism, the soft glow of symbols etched into cold metal, and the sense of destiny that had overwhelmed him when the underground passage first revealed its secrets. Now, armed with the celestial cipher's revelations, Carter knew that the primary vault contained far more than sustainable agricultural methods. It held the power to transform the very essence of human connection with the earth. Yet, this sacred trust also made it a beacon for those who sought to harness its power for greed and control. In a secluded clearing near the primary vault, Carter gathered his core team. The atmosphere was electric with tension, a mixture of anticipation and the grim knowledge that the consortium's agents were closing in. The night was unnervingly silent, as if the land itself had paused to witness the unfolding drama. Nathaniel's eyes glimmered with both determination and sorrow as he recounted the ancient texts. Our ancestors designed this vault not as a mere repository of knowledge, but as a living archive of the Earth's eternal promise. Tonight, we must merge the wisdom of the past with the technology of the present to unlock the secret that has been entrusted to us. As the appointed hour approached, Carter and his team positioned themselves around the concealed entrance to the vault. They had spent long hours charting the precise coordinates dictated by the celestial cipher, aligning the mechanism with the positions of Orion's belt, the Pleiades, and several other key constellations. The air was heavy with anticipation as Carter fitted the wooden key into a weathered, intricately carved slot on the vault's surface. At that precise moment, the heavens above began their slow, deliberate dance. The stars took on an ethereal brilliance, and the quiet hum of the earth deepened into a resonant chord that vibrated through every fiber of Carter's being. Just as the ancient mechanism stirred into motion, the first unmistakable sign of hostile intent sliced through the stillness. The consortium's black SUVs, their engines rumbling like the heralds of an approaching storm, emerged from the surrounding woods. Flashing red and blue lights danced across the horizon, and the sound of shouts and clattering footsteps echoed through the open fields. Carter's heart pounded fiercely as he turned to his allies, their faces set in grim resolve. "This is it," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the deepening vibration of the vault. "Hold your ground. We must protect this legacy at all costs." In a moment that seemed to suspend time, Carter pressed the key deeper into the slot. The ancient mechanism responded instantly. A series of interlocking gears began to turn with a slow, deliberate rhythm, each click echoing like a heartbeat. The vault's surface shuddered, and the symbols on its surface ignited with a soft luminescence that mirrored the starlight overhead. For a moment, the confrontation between old and new, between nature's enduring wisdom and modern greed, played out in the language of light and sound. The consortium's agents surged forward with calculated precision. They were clad in dark uniforms, faces obscured by the glare of tactical gear, and their intent was clear: seize the vault and control its secrets. A firefight erupted in the periphery, and Carter's allies took up defensive positions around the vault's entrance, using makeshift barricades and the natural cover of the land. The cacophony of modern weaponry clashed against the quiet determination of those who fought to preserve an ancient promise. Inside the vault, the mechanism reached its climax. With a final, resounding click, the sealed door began to slide open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into a chamber that radiated a subtle, otherworldly glow. Carter's breath caught in his throat as he beheld the sight. The room was filled with transparent, crystalline cylinders containing seeds and delicate saplings preserved in a clear, viscous fluid. At the center of the chamber stood a stone pedestal, upon which lay an ornate book, a compendium of agrarian wisdom that seamlessly intertwined the principles of ancient farming with revolutionary, sustainable practices. For a brief moment, as the first rays of starlight filtered through the underground opening, time seemed to fold in upon itself. The air thrummed with the weight of destiny, the convergence of centuries of hidden knowledge now poised to change the future of agriculture. Carter knew that what lay before him was more than a repository of seeds, it was a symbol of renewal, a promise that even in the darkest of times, the earth could be reborn. But there was no time to savor the revelation. Outside, the sounds of conflict reached a fever pitch. The consortium's forces had breached the outer perimeter, and the ensuing chaos threatened to overwhelm the defenders. With urgency that bordered on desperation, Carter shouted to his team, "Secure the vault. Protect the book and the seeds at all costs. This knowledge belongs to the people, not to the hands of those who would use it to dominate." In the ensuing melee, alliances were tested and sacrifices made. Carter's allies, driven by a shared passion for preserving the natural order, fought with a ferocity born of conviction. Amid the exchange of gunfire and the crackle of makeshift explosives, Nathaniel and several others managed to safeguard the ancient book and a portion of the crystalline cylinders. The protective energy emanating from the vault seemed to bolster their courage, as if the legacy itself was imbuing them with a supernatural strength. As the battle raged, Carter remained at the heart of the vault's entrance. His gaze fixed on the unfolding spectacle both within and without. The celestial alignment reached its zenith, and with it came a final surge of energy from the vault's mechanism. The open door beckoned like a portal to another era, a world where the wisdom of the past would empower the future. In that moment, the forces of modern oppression and ancient resilience collided head-on. A deafening explosion rocked the perimeter as a well-aimed charge set off a series of events that sent shockwaves through both the physical structure and the spirits of those present. Carter's instincts screamed for him to retreat, yet he knew that the vault's secrets were too vital to be lost to fear. He gritted his teeth and charged forward, rallying his remaining comrades to hold the line. Every pulse of the mechanism, every beam of starlight, seemed to affirm that the vault had chosen this moment to reveal its long-held promise. In the chaos that followed, Carter managed to extract a single, pristine crystalline cylinder from the vault, a symbol of hope and renewal. With the vault open and its secrets on the brink of being exposed to both salvation and destruction, he felt an overwhelming certainty: the future of sustainable agriculture, the freedom of small farmers, and the enduring bond between humanity and the earth rested on the choices they made tonight. In the final moments of the confrontation, as the forces of the consortium faltered against the indomitable spirit of those determined to safeguard their heritage, the ancient mechanism pulsed one last time. The door to the vault remained open, a steadfast portal to the past and a beacon for the future. Carter, bloodied but unbowed, stood at the threshold, the crystalline seed glowing softly in his hand. In that solemn, charged moment, the battle between exploitation and renewal reached its zenith, a moment that would forever define the legacy of the land. When the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, it found the battlefield transformed. The remnants of a long, bitter night lay scattered amidst the trampled fields, a testament to the fierce struggle that had unfolded in the shadow of ancient secrets. In the early morning glow, Carter and his comrades emerged from the ruins of the confrontation, weary yet resolute. The vault's open door, still aglow with the mystic luminescence of the celestial mechanism, beckoned them forward as a symbol of hope and renewal. In the aftermath of the clash, the forces of the consortium had retreated, their ambitions thwarted by the indomitable will of a community united by a common cause. The sounds of modern machinery had given way to the soft whispers of the wind and the gentle rustling of leaves, a quiet symphony that signified a new beginning. Carter, his face marked by both fatigue and determination, gathered with his closest allies at the vault's threshold. The ancient book lay safely in the hands of Nathaniel, and the crystalline cylinders, each containing life's potential in their clear embrace, were secured in a makeshift archive deep within the vault. As the sun ascended, bathing the landscape in a warm, golden light, Carter addressed the assembly. "Last night, we fought not only for our land, but for a future where knowledge and nature coexist in harmony. This vault, these seeds, and the wisdom contained within that book are not the property of any one group, they belong to everyone. Today, we reclaim our heritage and set forth a new course for our world, a world where power is shared and the earth is cherished." The words resonated deeply with the gathered farmers, historians, and activists. In that moment, the air seemed to shimmer with the promise of a reborn community, one that would draw strength from the ancient guardians of the land. The crystalline seed Carter held became a potent symbol, a beacon of resilience that bridged the gap between tradition and innovation. Its soft glow, a reminder of the celestial convergence and the secret covenant between the earth and the sky, promised that even in the darkest hours, renewal was possible. In the weeks that followed, Carter and his allies set about rebuilding not just their physical homesteads, but the very fabric of their community. The ancient book was transcribed and shared with local farmers, educators, and researchers, its wisdom sparking innovative approaches to sustainable agriculture that honored the legacy of generations past while embracing the advances of modern science. Cooperative farming collectives emerged, united in the belief that the land's bounty was a gift to be shared rather than a commodity to be exploited. The consortium, its influence weakened by the public exposure of their nefarious plans, was forced into the shadows from which it had once emerged. At public meetings held beneath vast, starlit skies and in humble community halls, people discussed the potential of the vault's secrets. They marveled at how ancient technology, guided by celestial patterns, could be harnessed to create resilient, disease-resistant crops and empower small-scale agriculture. Local universities, inspired by the revelations, partnered with the community to establish research centers dedicated to the integration of traditional knowledge and cutting-edge technology, a fusion that promised to revolutionize food production and ensure that the Earth's gifts were preserved for future generations. Carter, once a solitary farmer burdened by financial hardships and modern pressures, now found himself at the helm of a quiet revolution. His farm transformed into a vibrant training center where experienced elders and young innovators alike learned to balance the wisdom of the past with the necessities of the present. Under his guidance, the once hidden vault became a sacred site, a living museum where every visitor was reminded of the delicate, enduring bond between humanity and the earth. One clear evening, as Carter walked along a newly restored trail that led to the vault's entrance, he paused to gaze up at the heavens. The stars sparkled with renewed brilliance, a celestial tapestry that seemed to reaffirm the promise that had been fulfilled. In that moment, he recalled the words inscribed in the ancient texts, "When hope seems lost, the seed of life is reborn beneath the gaze of the eternal sky." He smiled softly, knowing that the sacrifices of the past had paved the way for this new dawn. As the seasons passed, the community flourished. Crop yields increased not through intensive, exploitative practices, but through a harmonious relationship with the land, one that valued diversity, sustainability, and the wisdom passed down through generations. The ancient vault remained a place of pilgrimage, where those seeking inspiration or refuge could come to marvel at the union of science and myth, of modern ingenuity and ancestral knowledge. In the gentle cadence of rural life, a life punctuated by the rhythm of the seasons and the steady pulse of the land, the legacy of that fateful night endured. Carter's name became synonymous with a movement that transcended boundaries, a movement that embraced the idea that true power lay not in control or accumulation, but in the responsible stewardship of nature's bounty. His story, interwoven with the timeless narrative of the earth itself, spread far beyond the borders of the small community, inspiring people across the globe to reclaim their connection to the land and its ancient, enduring wisdom. Standing at the threshold of the vault one final time, Carter felt the weight of history and the promise of tomorrow converge in a single, luminous moment. With the vault's secrets now free to nurture a better future, he knew that this was not an end but a beginning, a new chapter in a never-ending story of renewal, resilience, and hope. And as the dawn broke over the rejuvenated fields, the promise of a new era shone brightly, a dawn where every seed, every whisper of the wind, and every star in the sky testified to the eternal covenant between humanity and the earth.